Canada's rapid push to diversify its trade was highlighted during Prime Minister Trudeau and Trade Minister Mary Ang's recent EU visit, where she reiterated Canada's determination to lessen its reliance on the US. During his recent visit to Brussels, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau engaged in discussions with European Union leaders to strengthen the Canada-EU relationship, focusing on trade, economic security, and transatlantic security. The leaders emphasized the importance of the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, which has been provisionally applied since 2017, eliminating 98% of tariffs between Canada and the EU. They explored ways to further enhance trade and economic cooperation under CETA. In addition to trade discussions, Trudeau and EU leaders addressed shared security concerns, particularly in response to recent US tariff threats. They deliberated on potential retaliatory measures and the importance of a unified approach to uphold the rules-based international order. Furthermore, Trudeau's visit included meetings to discuss the advancement of artificial intelligence, AI technologies. He participated in the AI Action Summit in Paris, hosted by French President Emmanuel Macron, where leaders discussed responsible AI development and its implications for the future. In light of escalating trade disputes and the imposition of new US tariffs, Canada is broadening its global connections, notably with the EU, which has boosted trade by over 65% since its launch. Minister Ang's talks addressed key areas, including critical minerals, energy, and tech exports, reinforcing Canada's status as a primary supplier to Europe. Beyond Europe, Canada is reorienting its energy exports toward Asia, especially Japan and China, to reduce its dependency on the US as its main oil purchaser. While historically, 97% of Canadian crude oil was sent to the US, fresh deals with Japan and China mark a deliberate pivot toward a more varied energy market. At the same time, Canada is deepening trade links with Indonesia, South Korea, and Indo-Pacific countries under the CPTPP, securing entry into high-growth markets. This strategy of diversification not only protects Canada from potential US tariff shocks but also bolsters its economic resilience and global competitiveness. Minister Ang's EU tour underscores Canada's enduring commitment to building robust international trade alliances that promise sustainable growth beyond its long-standing US ties. Canadian Trade Minister Mary Ang recently travelled to Brussels to enhance economic bonds between Canada and the European Union, aiming to diversify trade relationships away from the United States. This move comes amid continuing US trade tensions and recent tariff threats. Since the provisional rollout of the Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement in September 2017, trade between Canada and the EU has surged. Two-way merchandise trade hit a record of $100 billion in 2021, reflecting a 33.7% rise from 2016, far outpacing the overall 18.6% increase in Canadian merchandise trade over the same period. Canadian exports to the EU climbed from $22.2 billion in 2016 to $32.5 billion in 2021, a 46.4% jump. Meanwhile, imports from the EU rose significantly, increasing by 28.4% to reach $67.5 billion in 2021. The number of Canadian firms exporting to the EU has also grown. Between 2016 and 2019, the number of exporters increased from 7,953 to 8,191, playing a central role in this expansion. Despite these strong trends, there remains untapped potential in fully utilizing CETA's benefits. In 2020, only 7% of eligible Canadian exporters took advantage of CTA preferences, suggesting room for enhanced outreach and support to help businesses maximize the agreement's advantages. Minister Ang has stressed the need to fully exploit CETA's offerings in talks with EU trade officials. She underscored the necessity of assisting Canadian businesses, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, in navigating export processes and cutting through red tape, thereby easing market access in Europe and fostering mutual economic growth, acknowledging that 98% of Canadian businesses are SMEs. Minister Mary Ang has underscored the critical importance of supporting these enterprises in accessing international markets, particularly in Europe, to help SMEs break into European markets. Several initiatives have been put in place. Launched in 2016, the Can Export SMEs program offers up to $75,000 in financial aid to help small firms explore new global markets. In response to COVID-19 challenges, the program adapted its focus to assist SMEs in strengthening their online presence, covering costs for e-commerce platforms and digital strategy consultations. It also provided funding for participation in virtual trade shows and business events, ensuring that SMEs maintain global connections despite travel restrictions. Furthermore, the program helped companies navigate new trade barriers brought on by the pandemic by supporting efforts to secure international market certifications and meet shifting regulatory requirements. These targeted measures have been designed to equip small businesses with the tools necessary to thrive in a globalized economy. Rapidly changing global trade dynamics have prompted measures to help SMMEs overcome bureaucratic obstacles and adapt to an evolving international trade environment. Enhancing investment dispute resolution. In February 2024, during the 4th Joint Committee meeting, under the Canada-EU Comprehensive Economic and Trade Agreement, CETA, both sides finalized negotiations on a framework aimed at simplifying access to investment dispute resolution under CETA. This development enhances SMMEs' ability to engage in and benefit from the agreement's opportunities, offering them a clearer path for settling investment-related disputes. Progress is also being made toward a mutual recognition agreement for professional architects between Canada and the EU. This accord will streamline the process of recognizing professional credentials across both regions, benefiting professionals and SMMEs by reducing bureaucratic hurdles and facilitating easier market entry into Europe. Strengthening cooperation on critical minerals. Canada and the EU are deepening their cooperation on critical minerals vital for green technology, such as electric vehicles and wind turbines, to support sustainable economic expansion. This collaboration aims to secure and diversify supply chains for these essential resources, reducing dependence on nations outside the alliance. In 2021, Canada and the EU launched the Strategic Partnership on Raw Materials, focusing on strengthening ties between their raw material industries to create more resilient supply chains. They are also promoting joint research and development projects to improve extraction, processing, and recycling technologies for critical minerals while maintaining high environmental, social, and governance (ESG) standards to ensure sustainable resource development. Canada has identified 31 minerals as crucial for transitioning to a green and digital economy, given their key role in producing clean energy technologies, electric vehicle batteries, semiconductors, and other advanced products. To secure its status as a preferred global supplier, the Canadian Critical Mineral Strategy, backed by nearly $4 billion in budget 2022, lays out a comprehensive plan to develop, process, and export these resources while adhering to strict environmental and social standards. A core element of the strategy is sustainable mining practices designed to minimize ecological impact. These include stricter environmental regulations, improvements in recycling technologies to reduce raw material extraction, and the adoption of low-carbon mining processes, such as electrifying equipment and implementing carbon capture. By emphasizing sustainability, Canada aims to become a leading producer of ethically sourced critical minerals, meeting rising global demand while maintaining robust environmental stewardship. Indigenous engagement and economic growth. Indigenous engagement is a cornerstone of the strategy, as many of Canada's critical mineral deposits are located on or near Indigenous lands. The government is working with Indigenous communities to ensure they benefit from mining projects through revenue sharing, job creation, and skills training programs. Projects are expected to secure free, prior, and informed consent in accordance with the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, reinforcing ethical resource development. The strategy also highlights the economic potential of the critical minerals sector, with projections indicating thousands of new jobs and significant private and foreign investment. Resource-rich regions, such as Ontario, Quebec, British Columbia, and the Northwest Territories, are expected to see increased mining activity, spurring new infrastructure projects and supply chain expansion. Furthermore, Canada is actively seeking stronger international partnerships, particularly with the EU and the US, to build secure, diversified supply chains that reduce reliance on unfriendly nations. Through investment in innovation, sustainability, and Indigenous partnerships, Canada aims to position itself as a reliable, ethical, and competitive supplier of critical minerals worldwide. The Canadian Critical Minerals Strategy not only supports the nation's economic future, but also plays a key role in advancing the global transition to clean energy and digital technologies. Strengthening Canada-EU trade ties. During her visit to Brussels, Trade Minister Mary Ng met with EU Trade Commissioner Valdis Dombrovskis to discuss further collaboration on critical minerals. Both officials acknowledged the importance of these minerals in green technology manufacturing and emphasized the need to reinforce supply chains between Canada and the EU. Canada has been actively pursuing strategies to diversify its trade relationships and address domestic trade barriers to strengthen economic resilience and reduce reliance on the United States. In 2018, Canada set an ambitious target to increase non-US exports by 50% by 2025. By early 2025, the country appears on track to achieve or surpass this goal. Recent trade agreements with various global partners have played a crucial role in this progress. Nations like Indonesia and Ecuador highlight Canada's commitment to expanding its trade networks beyond North America. Canada is also proactively engaging with Southeast Asian nations by dispatching trade delegations to the region to explore and secure new business opportunities. This initiative is part of a broader strategy to diversify export markets and reduce economic reliance on the United States. Recognizing the economic drawbacks of internal trade barriers, Minister of Transport and Internal Trade, Anita Anand, alongside provincial and territorial leaders, has been leading transformative efforts to remove regulatory obstacles that hinder the free movement of goods, services, and labour within Canada. The goal is to unlock new market opportunities, attract investment, and stimulate economic growth by creating a more integrated national marketplace. A vast majority of Canadian small businesses believe that eliminating internal trade barriers should be a top government priority, as these hurdles often deter expansion into new domestic markets due to the complexities of navigating different provincial regulations. In response, the federal government has introduced the Federal Action Plan to strengthen internal trade, emphasizing the critical role of unrestricted trade in economic recovery and accelerating efforts to dismantle these barriers. US-Canada. Tensions over annexation and tariffs in late 2024. During a dinner at Mar-a-Lago, President-elect Donald Trump suggested to Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau that Canada should become the 51st US state, arguing that Canadians would benefit from lower taxes and improved healthcare. The remark was initially met with uneasy laughter. Following the meeting, Trump repeatedly mentioned the idea in public, including a December 10, 2024, post on Truth Social, where he referred to Trudeau as Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada and expressed interest in further discussions on tariffs and trade. By December 18, 2024, Trump claimed that many Canadians supported annexation, though he provided no evidence. In early January 2025, he escalated his rhetoric by threatening a 25% tariff on all Canadian imports unless Canada enhanced its border security. He also questioned US financial aid to Canada, stating, "We're subsidizing Canada for almost $300 billion. If we're going to subsidize them, let them become a state." Prime Minister Trudeau firmly rejected the idea of annexation on January 7, 2025, stating, "There isn't a snowball's chance in hell that Canada would become part of the United States." However, Trump persisted, claiming in a December 25, 2024, Christmas post that annexation would cut Canadian taxes by over 60%, double the size of its businesses overnight, and provide unparalleled military protection. At a January 7, 2025, press briefing, Trump ruled out military intervention, but advocated for using economic pressure to push Canada toward annexation, arguing that it would enhance national security and reduce US border protection costs. He later posted an image of the US flag over Canada, with a caption referencing Canada's national anthem. On February 1, 2025, Trump announced that a 25% tariff on all Canadian goods would take effect on February 4, 2025. The following day, he reaffirmed his annexation stance on Truth Social, urging Canada to become the cherished 51st state, and promising the removal of tariffs and military security if it complied. In response, Canada imposed a 25% tariff on $155 billion worth of US imports. However, after negotiations between Trudeau and Trump, both sides agreed to a 30-day suspension of tariff enforcement. Canada's role in US energy supply. The United States has long depended on Canada's vast natural resources, but recent comments by President Trump have raised concerns about the extent of that reliance. Trump's offhand suggestion that Canada could become the 51st US state, a remark initially dismissed as a joke, has sparked debates on whether the US might seek greater control over its northern neighbor's resources. Canada is a leading global crude oil supplier, ranking as the fourth largest producer in 2023, with a daily output of 4.6 million barrels. Nearly 97% of Canadian oil exports go to the US, highlighting the deep economic interdependence between the two nations.